I'm going to record. Good morning and welcome to the Saturday morning coffee chat. It is May 8th. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. So today's topic for our chat is self-care and really ways to do it that is low cost, no cost. And Deb she's in the Autumn All Year group with Autumn Calabrese, and she shared with me Autumn's self-care guide. So we're going to look at that because it really does, it sums it all up. It has everything in there is basically no cost, ways to practice self-care. But before we get into that, I am going to share some tidbits, and maybe Deb has some as well, on the Eat Smarter. I know this is a technical book, it really is, but he shares in a way that is entertaining and breaks it down in analogies that my brain can wrap around. So even I geek out on this kind of stuff, nutrition and just the body, but even I kind of blah, 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 over the big words. It's like, I'm never going to retain that. I just want to know kind of like how I can visualize it or how I can explain it, in a way that makes it understandable. So without getting all technical. So like Deb mentioned, reading the book while you're listening to it would be a good strategy. I tend to listen to it in the car, and then I come home and I'm like, ooh, I got to look that up. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of us aren't reading it, but we want to share this information. So let me share my screen. I'm a visual person. I got to have visualizations. So I think this is it. I was just getting ready to play Lizzo's fitness, kind of get pumped up, but where is it? Yep, that's it. Okay. Can you see this, or is it too big?
I can see it.
I can see it.
Yeah, okay, good. Now, if you don't know Zoom, you've got our little boxes, or depending on how you are viewing this, when I do a share screen, usually our faces go into little boxes, and you can move that around. So if it's in your way, you just drag us around and move us to a different part of your screen. Okay, so we're going to start with good morning. Hopefully everyone is doing well. It is May 8th. And just a couple announcements. So next week on the coffee chat, we're going to just talk a little bit about meal planning basics. I consider it my superpower. I just decided that yesterday. And we'll bring in some of the Eat Smarter, and you'll see today when I share the presentation how we can kind of go in depth on some of the stuff. And then also tracking and just kind of going over the bookending and why that's important to kind of keep a handle on what your day-to-day looks like and how the choices you're making each day will then get you to your goal. Right, so that's next week. Just again, Let's Get Up is available to everyone for VIP early access. There's the sample workout if you haven't tried it. The Control Freak drops into our BOD library May 24th. So if you will have access to the off the wall, which doesn't require the equipment. So you might start with off the wall. And then if you decide you really love the format, you might then get the equipment pack of the control track and the control ball. Super effective workout. I love the format because it breaks it up into 3 different pieces. So it's like, okay, we finished the DCTT, and that was like, what is that? Usually 12 minutes. And then you go into a little bit of focused area of like shoulders or back or whatever. And then you do a short segment of HIIT, of cardio. So super fun to like, okay, I've finished that part. Now I'm going to do this. And it's only three sets. And then I'm going to do this. It's only 4 minutes. And really mentally, it helps me push harder in each segment. So that's coming. And then all May is Summer Strong sale. So I share this with you because it's funner when we have can bring our friends on board. Or if you know somebody who really is struggling with health issues, they talk about wanting to lose weight or getting into shape or improving their overall health. There's, I just want you to know that there's about, opportunities, there's sales, there's ways for them to get in really low cost, and join us. And the more that we have, the merrier we are, the more fun it is in our groups. And when you have somebody in the group, then it's also, just kind of like you become accountability partners. So Summer Strong sale all month of May, $20 off all packs that are $150 or more. So what that means is you can get the total solution pack of 12 months of Beachbody On Demand, a bag of Shakeology, the nutrition programs, the containers, access to the groups, all for $140. Same with the Let's Get Up, right? That right now is on sale. So this applies to all packs. So if your friend if you wanted to get the Control Freak pack, completion pack, if you already have Beachbody On Demand, you can take $20 off that too. So just food for thought. And I really just want to stress, it's funner with friends, and, it just kind of, and if you are a discount coach, or if there's this preferred customer membership thing coming up, you can actually decide whether you want to, earn a little money while you're helping people, your friends get fit. All right, so that's it for the announcements, and we're going to go right into just a couple of points on the Eat Smarter. So we have a metabolic fingerprint. It's unique to us, like our fingerprints, right? To every one of us. And I didn't even think about it like that. And this is, I want you to take this information in, kind of like just let it enter your brain. Don't try to think too much about it, because it's really interesting, but it can be confusing. It's cool information, but it can be confusing. And I don't want you to stress about trying to know different things. Like, we really want to keep things basic and simple. Like, you got so many containers to eat, or your plate, it looks like this, right? These are your best food options. Working out is good for your body for a lot of reasons. And so staying with the basic formula. But just what I love about knowing some of this information is we can stop comparing ourselves to other people. Our bodies are unique. The structure and physiology of our body is, this basically the same for the most part. We have skin, we have bones, we have organs, we have blood, right? But how our body internally, this world internally, how it communicates and functions and reacts is different. It's unique to each of us for different reasons. So there's like upwards of 50 trillion human cells that make up our body. I think that's just like, whoosh. And if you think of, I think of the food at a cellular level, like, what is this food? How are my cells going to utilize this food? Not all of it, like, obviously, when I go get a cone from Dairy Queen, I don't think about it, because it's okay. But your cells are like citizens living in a community. So that's what makes us unique. And they're all working together to make you who you are. And there's variables on, how our communities communicate and work together. And they can be good communities, or, depending on what's happening with stress or eating junk food, having cells that aren't regenerating healthfully, the communication can get broken. The functions can become a little dysfunctional community. So, so just think about that. You've got this inside environment, this inside world going on, and your community is different from other people's community. And your metabolism really is this unique fingerprint. And there's several elements that determine how your body interacts with the food you eat. So our metabolism is different for each of us, which I think, to me, is just like, it takes a little bit of the weight off, just knowing that, and just kind of like getting that concept. And to me, it allows us to stop comparing and to grab onto the empowerment of that. So like I said, you have communities in your body, and he talks about having the different fat communities. I love this, and the way he talks about it and how they interact in this movie theater, you know, it's just like, it really does help you to understand. So if you don't get the book, you might get the Audible and just listen. He's got a great voice. He also has a podcast. So if you don't want to get the book, definitely go to his podcast, The Model Health Show, which he kind of talks about all the stuff in his book anyway, right? So you can pick a topic and listen to it. And he's got a great voice. So the main fat communities that I shared in the newsletter, the subcutaneous fat, visceral fat, and the intramuscular fat. So the subcutaneous fat is the fat that we can pinch. It's the stuff that's sort of more fluffy on the top, right? Right under our skin. And visceral fat is the deeper fat that surrounds our organs. It's under our abdominal muscles. When we get the poochy belly, that is, a lot of it can be from, well, bloating, of course, digestive issues, but it can be the accumulation of visceral fat that's under the abdominal muscles. We do usually our first weight loss focus is the subcutaneous fat, getting the fluffy stuff off. And then what then you would then go for is the visceral fat. And visceral fat actually can be dangerous. You don't want too much of that, because it calls it the WWE of fat in our bodies. Like, it puts a chokehold on our liver. It does the suplex, which is this where you pick a person up and you drop on them, to, you know, our intestines. So we don't want tons of visceral fat that can become really dangerous, and it increases our risk of heart disease. And then intramuscular fat, which a lot of people don't think about, that we think either there's fat or there's muscle, and that they're not related, but we do have fat in our muscle, and it actually provides immediate on-site energy. It's the powerhouse for our muscles. It's the first thing that our muscles go to for basic movement, like getting out of bed, folding the laundry, cleaning the house, and also when we do moderate exercise. So just to think about, like, if you get a steak from the store and it's all marbled with fat, that's the basic concept. So these are white adipose tissue, and their primary function is to store fat. The fat cells store fat, and our bodies are designed for preservation, right? We store fat in with this premise that there's going to be a famine, and so your body's ready for that. It has reserves to help you stay alive. There is another fat that I didn't put in the newsletter, but there's brown fat, and then there's beige fat. Brown fat it burns fat. It burns energy. And then the beige fat has the flexibility of acting either brown or white. And there's certain lifestyle factors that influence the browning of our cells within our fat cell community. So I think that is really cool. And again, don't try to like totally drill down on this. Just know that there's different things happening in our body, different fats, and they're for different reasons, and they provide different benefits, but then that we also, and we can burn them in different ways. So your body, one of the cool ways that your body will shift your metabolic fingerprint, beyond that cookie cutter advice of just managing calories, is these lifestyle factors that will influence the browning of your cells. So he talks about this in like what food you can eat, then things you can do. It brings into account inflammation, our hormones, whether they're functioning properly or dysfunctioning. And there was a third one, I can't remember, but he'll talk about these and just kind of give some suggestions. So, you know, next week I'll bring you some more of that information. Deb and I will, in the group too, try to share tidbits that we're learning to help you with like just understanding, and just, I think information, knowledge is power. What we do with it is up to us. Well, knowledge can be power. It's the potential for power. So I just think having that awareness helps me to understand what's going on in my body better, understand the effects of what I'm doing, the effort I'm putting in, and you can just make better informed decisions. Okay, so LiFO, if you haven't heard that term, it's last in, first out. So you can actually create a fat bank account. And it's kind of essential to understand that your body uses fuel. Use of fuel works on hierarchy. So it will go for the glucose first. That's the fast cash. And that's the food that we're intaking, right? It's breaking it down to glucose. Then the glycogen is like your checking account. It's the stuff that's been broken down into glycogen. It's going to then, you can write a check and get that. It takes a little bit longer to become the energy source, but it's more readily available. And then it'll use those two, glucose and glycogen, before it goes through the process of breaking down the deposited fat for your fuel. So also know that this is the process that your food goes in. When you're eating your food, it turns into glucose, gives you that energy. And then energy you don't expend in the day, it starts, turning into glycogen, and what you don't use there gets stored. So, and then the reverse happens, right? It's like, or the same way, it's actually going to call on it for the energy that you need. And then just know when I say this, like every time I say that, I think the food that we eat turns into glucose, but there's a lot of food that's not actually food. There's a lot of food that actually doesn't have nutrition, and your body is trying to think, what is this? How do I break this down? I don't recognize this, right? So that's why we try to greatly reduce or eliminate processed foods or high sugar foods, or, just foods that are not good for us. So, so this deposited fat is your food currency that gets stored. There's a lot of energy that your body will hold in reserve for if you need it. That's that survival mechanism, but it's just not as easy to get to. So that's why I like that last 10 pounds. It's hard to burn off, because we've deposited that fat. Okay, so before I get into that, Deb, did you have any comments, anything to add with the Eat Smarter?
Yeah, I just, it was interesting that I got into the introduction part of it, and it's funny because we, as UPF, with autumn calories, food is always put in my brain, it's fuel. But the way Sean is saying, it is beyond fuel. You got to think of it of another way of thinking how it's good for your body, because not only it isn't just fuel, it's for everything. And like she said, there's all these organisms that we carry self-healing, and like when we break out, it's expelling something in our system that we really don't need, and it's trying to get rid of it. And then fortunately it's breakout in the face, or you're getting a rash, or it's some disease or some kind. But it's not only true as you think of it as she said, it's the glycan. So you get to that point where the food is charging you to do the exercise you need to do. And then the water that you drink is flushing out all the excess and the toxins. So I'm excited to learn more about it than thinking it's just fuel. I want to be able to learn more about how it interprets our fingerprint, our metabolism. And, it's like my husband, ketogenic. I mean, he could eat and he's just a processing machine, and I could be the one that's just storing it, as much as I'm trying to do strength exercise and do the right thing. But maybe that's just me, and that's my makeup, and I just need to understand it. And that's where I'm at in this book, is trying to understand what's going on in myself. And I'm hoping you all would understand it for yourselves as well. And he is great. I wish he would have Sean's voice would be in a what you call meditation narrative, because he's just got that certain voice and tone. But anyways, that's all I had.
It's sexy.
Yeah. It's funny because I posted my tidbit I shared with you group, and I posted on Instagram, and he answered right away. And, I just hashtagged it, and he's very responsive. So he's in tune with all those out there that are reading the book and sharing. So get the
Cool.
chance, share it on social media.
Yeah. And so before we just jump into self-care too, just the fat is not the enemy, like food is not the enemy, fat is not the enemy. Fat actually has a lot of functions that our body needs, like the communication, our brain needs it. It's like the myelin that's is a fatty substance that wraps around the nerve fibers in our brain, enables them to like have this communication. So if we're depriving ourselves of those things, or we're not having the healthy fats, we're compromising some of those things. Just for like we focus so much on the scale and even how our clothes fit, or how we look in the mirror, but really we also have to know, like, there's so much going on in our body. So enough about that, because I could go all day, and that was just up to page 15. So self-care, I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'll just do this. Let's see. Okay, so there is I emailed this out, dropped in your inbox this morning. So you have it, but let's just go through it quickly. Like, again, it is something that Autumn put together. She has a group that she's done Autumn all year, and they started like July last year?
Yes, July last year. So it'll be ending this coming July. And it's doing all of her workouts, even including off the wall, throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And I'm doing, or off the wall, 9-week control week. Off the wall I'm doing now, but including all the 9-week control freaks. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's been ongoing. Deb's been in it, and thank you for sharing this with us. So obviously your secret results weapon is self-care. When it comes to being the strongest version of yourself, self-care is everything. And you think about the analogy of if you're trying to give from an empty cup, that just doesn't compute. Like, it's just not going to happen. You cannot keep giving when you're not replacing and replenishing and rejuvenating. And that's why self-care is just as important as eating healthy and exercising regularly. So it is why we talk a lot about other things like sleep and hydration and meditation, and having a morning routine and nourishing your mind. Self-care is doing something that nurtures or honors yourself. I think that's a great way to just sum it all up. It doesn't have to cost. It just has to be something that helps you to honor your body, honor your life. And we're going to look at a few different examples. And I love that self-care helps you perform at your best. Fundamentally, self-care is a way to maintain balance so you can attend to all your different parts to keep yourself going. So that just speaks to what we were talking about. We've got all these different parts, not only different parts within our body, but different parts within our life, different passions, different goals, different relationships, all the things. And self-care helps us to maintain that balance so that we can attend to all of those different things in a way that's one, honoring you, and also not taking away from that thing, you're part of your life that you're trying to contribute to. Because if we're going in too many directions and we're feeling like all we do is give, those things aren't even enjoyable anymore. Or we look at our family with resentment, or, we go to work and just hate ourselves. So that's where that balance, so that you can attend to those things in a way that does honor you. And then I'm not going to read through all this. That's why I wanted to send it out to you as well. Because if you just read through it, this could be something you might want to read in the morning. Pick out your parts, highlight things, and just remind yourself. So whether the cumulative buildup of small things or confronting big issues, self-care is an important tool for maintaining resilience. Resilience building is huge. When we do things to honor ourselves mentally, we are in a better place to take on challenges and stressors we all inevitably face. So we can't get away from those things. Like, that's just life. But how we're, how we're going to react to it and equipped to react to it is where the self-care comes in. So physically, we're carrying stress in our bodies. It can manifest as muscle tension or even hypertension. So having this outlet helps with all around wellness. And don't feel guilty about taking time for self-care. It's really, you have to be able to take that time for yourself if you're going to continue to give to others. And then this was part of the 9-week control freak, because part of that program is the nightly controlled stretches. And that was part of the program to help you bookend the day, right? You're starting out with your workout, you're going for the day, and then you're winding down. You're getting some stretching, which is honoring your body. You get to quiet your mind. You get to prepare for bedtime. So that's where the self-care, first came in. And then she shares some rituals. So also knowing that the 9-week control freak is going to drop in the Bod Library May 24th, you will have access to the controlled stretches. So I had to put an alert on my phone, because I'm not used to like going back to the gym or pushing play and doing this at night. So I quite easily went from the lazy boy to the bed. And so it took some like push to get me to do these. It always felt good though. It's like, why do I like grumble about, oh, I gotta go do my stretches. So again, no comparison. The internet isn't reality. So the things people are typing are words in an app you can choose to ignore. So that's part of that controlled stretching at night. Like, just put down the phone. It's a way to like start detaching from your device. So maybe read a book, do a meditation, and get ready for sleep. So in here, there are 8 life self-care rituals, 8 areas, different areas of life. We did it's 7 circles of life when we were doing the one thing. And
It's seven circles. Yeah.
So this touches on those plus one. And so I'm just going to look through those real quick. The 8 areas are, and this is a sample: your physical self-care, going for a walk, taking a bath, taking your rest days, eating nourishing food. Psychological, practicing the mindfulness, reading a book, doing a digital detox, unfollowing people that make you don't feel good about yourself. I do that all the time. Learning a new skill. The psychological self-care, like the brain needs some self-care. Emotional self-care, saying no and setting boundaries, honoring your emotional boundaries, making time to reflect on your feelings. And social self-care, asking for help when you need it. Huge. Meeting new people, avoiding energy vampires. If you can think of anybody like that, it's like, oh my God. They just take so much energy. And sometimes we can't. I'll just be honest, like my brother and his wife are energy vampires. And I can't just not see them, right? But I just have to reframe that whole thing and know that it's not them, it's me and my perspective on them and how I'm approaching that. So I really do, before I meet up with them, I kind of just get mentally prepared for it and breathe and practice self-care the whole time. Professional self-care, so taking your full lunch break. I remember working my corporate job, and that was like something I didn't do often. And then, just having professional boundaries and communicating your needs with your coworkers, your boss. Environmental self-care. So, and you can see none of these are monetary. Like, you don't need to pay for these things. We just have to really be mindful of doing these things. And we're going to get this thing at the end, you'll see, kind of bring it all together. So environmental self-care, decluttering your home, that is huge for me. Monitoring your technology time. We need to just take a break. Cleaning up after a meal. I cannot go to bed without a clean kitchen because I wake up in the morning and it's dirty. It immediately sets me off. Spiritual self-care, obviously, creating your morning routine, doing meditating, doing journaling, going for a walk in nature, and then financial self-care. So we did financial fitness, knowing where your income is coming in, know it's where you're going out, telling your money where to go rather than wondering where it went, and spending and saving more wisely. So those are the 8 areas. And what you have a blank sheet, so you can create your own. So you can pick some of those in those 8 areas. And then there's 20 ideas to create a self-care routine. So it picks on each of those 8 areas. And I'll let you expand, Deb, when I'm done here. Emotional self-care. So obviously, if you're focusing on relaxation, it gives you some more ideas here. And just read through like the small print, like Karen says, because it kind of helps you to understand, like when we say focus on relaxation, it's like my mind is so buzzed with energy and got to do this and the checklist and the dog's staring at me, that focus on relaxation just doesn't compute. So I have to like read a little bit deeper, and then I can, get into it. So there's going to be some obviously ideas, a little more insight into each of the areas. So your physical, psychological. So let's go to the end. This one, treat yourself. I was like, oh yeah, treat yourself. As I always say, you got to have treats. But this is like doing swaddling yourself in comfy, luxurious fabrics. Or DIY face masks that are budget friendly. So I sent out in the newsletter and then in the one this morning, some infographic like screenshots of ingredients you have in your home that you can make different body scrubs and face masks and lip scrubs and just things like that. I know they were really small, so hopefully you're able to see them. If you need them emailed to you differently, I can do that. And then, so here's your daily self-care planner. And this is not that. So here's an example. So in the morning, I'm going to do this. And this is like ensuring that you have some self-care built into your day, and whatever's going to work for you. And it can take 10 minutes, or, it can take a few minutes, or it can take an hour. It's up to you. So this is your self-care planner. This is what I'm going to do in the morning. And we kind of have to do this and be intentional or mindful about this. Otherwise, we just don't put these things into our day. We are just going from one next task to the next task. Give. So these are things I'm going to do throughout the day. And then in the evening, this is how I'm going to bookend my day, right? So then you have your blank sheet where you're going to be able to do a plan for yourself. All right. So embrace challenging yourself. Love taking care of yourself. I thought that was a really great guide. And thanks again, Deb, for sharing that. So read through it, highlight it, share in the group pieces that you're pulling from it. We'll be talking in the group about just like, what is the self-care that you're doing today? Just kind of like a random check-in kind of thing. So you got anything to add there, Deb?
Yeah. What I like about it is that when I was going through the list of 20 things, I was quite surprised of the items that I had already been applying.
Right.
And a couple of them were in my 12-week year planning because I don't do it that often, and trying to be intentional. And that's part of this too, is to be intentional for yourself. And I think that's what Autumn was trying to get across, is be intentional, be present. And then it really opened my eyes that I had the tools in front of me and I just didn't apply it. Like Headspace, you have a meditation wake up portion of the app, and then it does have a midday stretch or little tidbit hack, and then the evening is meditation. And so it kind of had that bookend day already, and it was like, oh, so I tried it a few times. But it's just neat to know that there's different things out there, and it doesn't have to really cost money. And that's when Louise and I were talking about self-care, and it's like, what is it out there that you don't have to pay, like a manicure, pedicure, and it's like, oh gosh, it could be costly if you really go all out. And I'm not that type of person that's all out, but this was so fits the pocket, so
Yeah.
anyway, I'm glad to be able to share it.
Right. And you can put alerts in your phone with actual affirmations, just to remind yourself to say these things to yourself throughout the day. You can do what's called is it trigger? So like the concept is like when you walk through a door. So every time you walk through the door, and the more you do this, the more it just becomes the thing you do. When you walk through the door, you tell yourself, I'm going to be present. I'm going to look for ways that I can give to what I'm walking into. And what that does is, and again, it's giving, but you're centering your mind and you're focusing. And then maybe you say, what are the boundaries do I need to set here? And just having that quick mental check. So I forget, I don't think it's called triggers, but I'll look it up. It's from Brendan Bouchard, but.
Okay, because it reminds me of Atomic Habits, trying to get a habit.
Yeah, you create that habit loop. You've got the trigger, the cue. Yeah. Or maybe it's when you're tracking, like I'm having my breakfast, I automatically pull down my recipe for dinner in the night. I look at the recipe, I log it in, I book in my day. So those things can be just quick and easy if we don't overthink them. And we just kind of make them part of our routine. And that is self-care. Like I'm telling you, like my superpower of meal planning is just that it's freed me up mentally. Like I don't have issues with cooking dinner, even I'm starting to enjoy it, but I have to worry about it all day. And so that for me is self-care. So like our metabolic fingerprint, what self-care honors us is individual to each of us. All right. So any questions, comments, thoughts? And never let any of this overwhelm or deflate you. All right. Any of the information that we provide, because it is just information. And we make it individual to each of us. A lot of this we're doing, and none of us are going to do any of it perfectly. But sometimes we hear something that just helps us make that one little shift and appreciate what we're doing already, or give us new ideas on what we can do. So we love you.